What did you make of what do you make of the Russell Cowboys talk, and where are we going with the Dak contract, and do the Cowboys need to hope they get their deal done before Lamar in Baltimore, which is where you do radio?
I mean, the Dallas stuff, I don't know that it's feasible for the Cowboys to negotiate it, but as I reported on Super Bowl Sunday, Dallas is one of the teams that people close to Russell were adamant about, that he and Sierra had talked about. It was sort of on their short list. It would check a lot of boxes, and it was incredibly intriguing to them for a lot of different reasons. Now, that would require them moving Dak Prescott. I don't think the Seattle Seahawks would have any interest in Dak Prescott at $40 million a year, and that's what you're looking at, and having to start that contract with him. You know, Russell, they've already swallowed enough with him to get to a point where it's team-friendly. To take on a less accomplished quarterback, albeit younger, and have to start all over, you know, with those massive payments and him coming off a tag, so you don't have much wiggle room even at the beginning of the contract. You can't push stuff into the future. I mean, he's going to make his 38 if he does nothing. I don't see that being so that would require a three-way trade, or Dallas making a deal for Prescott before they did something for Russ. I don't think it's going to end up being a match. I don't think it's nearly the potential glove-in-hand fit that, say, the Raiders could be. But I know it's something that Russ would be open to.
What about Dak's own deal here?
I don't know that one has much to do with the other, and I don't think a Lamar Jackson deal gets done for a while. I mean, the Ravens don't usually do that kind of business until well after the draft. You know, he's only played 3 years, so it's not like you pick up the fifth-year option, you try to get a deal done before week one. He doesn't have a representation. It's him and his mom. That's a different dynamic. And they have some short-term work they'd want to get done before they really get down to brass tacks with him. You know, the Dak thing is different because the floor is set. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of wiggle room. I mean, he could take the thing to July 15th again, and, you know, what was it, 32 last year and 38 this year? I mean, that's 70 for two. And now you probably are hitting the open market. I mean, he could take the Kirk Cousins route if he wanted to, and they know it, and that presents a different sort of leverage. I think Jerry's over a barrel. He's cost himself $6 to $8 million a year over the length of this contract per year, based on his unwillingness to give Dak language last year that said, we won't ever franchise you again. You know, had they done that deal on either his term or Dak's term, it would look pretty good right now compared to the alternative, which is the second tag, and now we do this dance again. I do think ultimately he pays whatever the price is. But you know, will people always look back at last offseason and say, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda? They probably will.
Radio.com NFL insider Jason La Canfora join us here on 105.3 The Fan. Does Michael Gallup, you know, you wrote this, does he have a real future with the Cowboys? Does that mean that we may trade him this offseason, or just you talking about when he becomes a free agent?
I mean, I think they should entertain that. You know, CeeDee Lamb is going to be a guy who, this is year two after year three. If he's who they drafted him to be, then you've got that situation. You know, could you trade an Amari Cooper? Sure, but you just paid him, and so contractually it's a different situation than if you traded the younger guy, the guy who's still a bargain right now. I don't see them having a $40+ million quarterback and, you know, and three wideouts making legit, you know, big time NFL money. I'm sorry. Could they try to kick that can for another year? I mean, they could. But boy, that defense still needs a lot of help. I mean, the offensive line all of a sudden is kind of long in the tooth and went from being the thing you didn't have to worry about to something you better be worried about, and probably should have been. I don't want to say probably should have been more worried about last year. So I think it's about asset allocation, and you know, the selection in the first round last year, I think some people looked at it as a bit of a luxury. Now you're following your board. I mean, I get all that, but then it becomes about asset reallocation, and you've had another year to assess your many weaknesses and holes, and you only have so many draft picks, and the cap ain't going to be what anybody thought it was going to be 2 years ago. Whether it's 185 or 188 or they goose it to 190 something, it's still suboptimal, and you're in a suboptimal situation with your quarterback. And once you're paying him $40 million a year, you probably shouldn't have to have 3 highly compensated wide receivers all on their second or third contract.